My son just had a trial day at a new school, and what struck me most wasn't the new school, it was how he walked in. Um, my son is now 7, and when he was around 3 years old, I decided to move abroad. And it was exactly when he turned 4 that we took a plane and landed here in Mexico. I didn't know anybody here. Everything was new. I never even went to Mexico before. And people feel like this is not the safest place to be. So why on earth would a mother bring her son, the most precious person in her life, to this world, to this end of the world? But I was just driven by it, following those nudges, and eventually found this beautiful place that we now get to call home for a couple of years now. When we decided to move, obviously, it wasn't always that easy. They speak Spanish here, and he was never exposed to the language. So making friends was very hard at first, especially since the first school had mostly girls in his class, and they really just wanted to play with girls only. So he was a bit left out, and it was really hurting my heart so much to see him suffer like that because it really felt like suffering. Eventually, we went to a new school when we moved to this new place, this new community. And what happened was he started to learn the language better. He started making new friends. He started to build his self esteem and his confidence. And now, and this is why I'm sharing it, he is so confident. He is so happy. He's so secure. And so when he went to that new school, he never been there before. He didn't know who was going to be in his classroom. He never saw the teacher, nothing. He walked in like, okay, I'm gonna do this. It was a 2-day trial, and yesterday was his final day. When I picked him up from school, I asked him, "So how did it go?" He's like, "I love it. I want to go to the school," and he was very positive. And I'm like, "Okay, what were the downsides of the school?" He's like, "No, I don't have any." Even the girls play with boys during the school break, he said. We all play dodgeball, and he had so much fun. Um, I loved how his like I love how he's in life. This is not how I was as a child. As a child, I was very opposite. I was more shy. I was more careful. I didn't like change that much. And I know my son, he actually does look a lot like me. We were both very deep. We're very emotionally intelligent. We feel a lot. But for him to also have this confidence, I'm like, wow, this is why I already made certain choices for him, for us to give him that skill set, to build that muscle of discomfort. I completely understand why parents often want to protect their kids. It's a crazy world out there. And at the same time, I knew that how I can really protect him is to teach him that self confidence, is to teach him that self trust, and that he is safe and that he is welcome in his world. Not from naive point of view, but really from this inner authority that I had to build later in life. And not so long ago, we had to go to Paraguay for some business, and it was a long flight with also a layover in Panama. I think from door to door, it was like an 11-hour flight. And there he is, just completely full energy after a long sleep and, playing some games in the plane, going to get the suitcases and just happy and enthusiastic and just never complaining. And his dad and I, we just looked at each other like, oh my God, like, yeah, he is an easy kid, but at the same time, like, I have never experienced a kid that is so easygoing when it comes to travel. And I really believe it's because we exposed that to him very early on. I think he was 3 months old, and we already went to Dublin to meet my sister to surprise her, actually, who was living and working in Dublin for Google back then, to meet her baby nephew. And yeah, so he's been a globetrotter ever since. Um, but also the fact of languages. In the beginning, he struggled. In the beginning, it was, like I said, hard to make friends. And now, like, I think it was last summer, his dad said that they were at this playground nearby the hotel where they were staying at. And they met with this girl that he grew up with when he was in kindergarten. And then he saw another kid from the hotel who was a foreigner and they were speaking English. And then that girl came to her mom, who was sitting next to my son's dad, saying, well, I can't play anymore. I don't understand the kid. I don't speak English. And his dad told me, like, yeah, and for our son, it's not a problem because he is now multilingual. Like, he can speak English too, you know? And so it showed us also the benefit of taking a different road. It actually expanded his world. He's now able to connect with more people. He is able to, express himself better. And that actually eventually raised his self-esteem and self-confidence. And so the message here, because I see it so often with parents being very, very careful with their kids. I am from nature very careful too, because I observe everything and I can see everything, And at the same time, I also am very intentional about, letting him spread his wings too, and not always making it easy for him. And I see the result already. He's still 7, but I'm already experiencing the result, like the fact of him going to this new school for a few days of trialing if that's a fit. And he comes back home and he's incredibly enthusiastic. Well, that's really because of his approach, because of his outlook in life. And I can truly say that apart from his own character, we shaped that, we shaped that by giving him those conditions to develop that. And for me as a mom, I feel so secure knowing that um, he is building this already, because life is not an easy road, like it comes with challenges. And I am giving him everything that he needs to navigate that and still be close to him, to himself, and I think especially when you have the expat lifestyle that we have, that this is by default already the huge and biggest test, like taking him away from his roots, taking him away from the family, taking him away from his native language. And Dutch is just like Holland, the Netherlands is a small country. There's not a lot of people out there to speak the language, right? Anyway, that said, um, his father is going for business back home for a week, and I told him, like, hey, if you're going, maybe consider bringing the little one with you, because it would be amazing for him to see everyone, like the family. And then he asked our son, like, hey, do you want to join me? And then he had to think about that. And I think the reason he had to think about that is, well, he actually said it. It's like, because he's gonna miss mommy. But then he was like, no, but I really want to see the family. And it's just a week. I can do without mommy for a week. And so soon they're gonna leave together to the Netherlands. And again, I as a mom am like, oh, and at the same time, I'm the one that actually suggested it, But I'm doing this consciously. I'm doing this consciously because I'm like, it is a perfect opportunity for him to see everyone again. And he's gonna be with daddy, and he's gonna be with my sister and my mom and everybody there, and my brothers, and it's gonna be so fun. And even though I would love to be there with him and, even keep him close to me, I'm very intentional about letting him spread his wings and making that decision, and knowing that it's safe and fine and okay to do that. Um, and yeah, I think that is a huge gift because I'm very intentional about it, and because I actually see the results. Like, he just started his soccer classes. He finally got his uniforms now too, because they ran out of it. But luckily, some friends, their son quit, and he was able to take over the uniforms. Anyway, seeing him thrive, even though how kids can be, like, you always have groups, and a lot of those boys, they have been doing this for a long time, so it's always very like, okay, how is this going to be? Will he be accepted in the group? And me as a mom, I never noticed anything about my son. He was just too enthusiastic to just play and do this thing, and I'm like, I love this. I love this. I'm still learning so much from him, and that attitude in life where you just go for what you want and you embrace it, and all of it. And I wanna share that, because I see so many people being so afraid, and therefore, not really implanting that security within their children, that they are safe. Yeah, of course, it's important for us to protect, but there's this, I'm talking about the nuance, like there are certain boundaries that I don't cross with him, but this is a safe way for him to explore a little bit more of the world. Like we live in a community. It's not like the Wild West here. So I know that when I let him bike and see his friends, that he is safe. There are no crazy cars driving here at full speed or something. But it's like little by little, I am also constantly stressing my own comfort zone when it comes to him. But the most important thing is that I want him to know that he can trust himself and that he is safe, etc. And I see him thrive because of that. I see him saying yes to life. This morning he had to go to his other school because the trial days are over, and he was like, "Why? I don't want to go to the other school." And I'm like, "Dude, what's up with you? Like, what kind of kid are you?" Um, I actually have a meeting right after this at the new school to discuss how the trial days went, and if it is a match for both sides, etc., etc. But if it's up to him, he already, shifts from this school to the other school. And mind you, this school has been amazing for him. And he went to that school since he was 5, to this particular school. So he really grew, from the little group to the bigger group, and all the kids he knows since he lives here. So, and then he said, "Well, I mean, I'm still gonna see them around, and it's not that I really need to see them every day anyway." And I'm like, "Really?" Like, okay. This is interesting, but I truly believe that that's why he thinks that way, because he knows that love is all around. He knows that, it doesn't have to mean end of friendships. He knows that, he's just ready for something new and expansion. And I think that a new school would bring that for him too. And I'm just grateful that I sensed that on time and that I made that schedule, and everything went with, discussing it with him, and he was fully on board. And it's like, it's okay to embrace change, and that's what he has learned very early on. And I couldn't be more proud of how he stands in life. Um, yeah, I just wanted to share this and maybe give you a perspective. I know a lot of people are nowadays considering even moving abroad, afraid of what will it mean for our kids. And when we just moved, I also met different expat families, and a lot of them actually moved back. They moved back because either the kids or the parents couldn't really settle down on that specific spot, or they moved to a different country. Whatever it is, there's never a guarantee. But I think because I really started early on with my son to not raise him with fear, but raise him with confidence and faith in him, that I always empowered him, that really helped. And I was also very clear on, hey, I don't want to move around. I really want to find a spot where we can call home, because I know how important it is for a kid to really root somewhere and then blossom. I once met this guy who lived on a boat when he was little. He was German, and he always really was upset with his parents that he never had a normal school life, that he never really got to, educate himself. And he's incredibly smart. He ended up going to the military in Germany when he was 18. There he got his school degree, and he felt like he had to, yeah, um, how do you call that? He felt like he had to catch up on life. And I could see his pain when he was telling me this. This was back in the days when I was in tech space, and he really, really excelled in his work and everything. And I could have never imagined that for like the first 18 years of his life, he was basically just a nomad. But he really showed me clearly, like, a kid really needs a foundation. And therefore I was like, okay, if we're gonna move, that's fine, but I wanna really find a place that we get to go home. I don't wanna move him around the whole time. And that was something that I really took serious. And I think I saw something like a spider, but or it was just something else. Anyway, I'm rattling. I'm gonna close this off, and I'm gonna wish you a beautiful weekend, a beautiful day. I'm not sure when you're gonna watch this. Today's Friday, the 23rd, and it's the 23rd day that I'm making a video. And I've been loving it so much. And now that we talk about that, by the way, I was thinking about it. I noticed that in the beginning, when I started this process, I had a lot of comments from people. I loved it. I loved communicating with you guys, and I miss it. I miss it because for a long time, there hasn't been a lot of comments. Definitely a lot of love because I do see like the subscribers count growing, and I see a lot of likes. But yeah, I want to hear from you too. And if you want to do that anonymously, I will leave a link. It's called Dear Ash. If you ever have a question or anything that you want to share or you want me to, focus on during one of the episodes, you can use that link to fill it in or just drop a comment. Okay, thanks. Bye bye.